God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see a packed room full of students and teachers and parents. Before we start the meeting, I just wanted to show some happy pictures off doing with some first graders that they visited 2 weeks ago. It's a mistake that came along. Who was there? Representative Sanchez, Wilson, Phineas, Haggard, Patty, and Senator Champagne. We look so happy in that picture. So we just wanted to share that picture. Now I need approval of the minutes from last meeting. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 2-minute public participation. Does anybody want to come up and comment, questions, or concerns before?
Say one thing. Everybody watch Channel 4 weather because Snow Monster came to TIS today, and we have one of our students, Jacob Gallagher, was featured. He loves Bob Maxim as the weather man, and we had a shirt made up that says, "What's the weather?" with a picture of Bob. So everybody watch Channel 30 weather, please. Okay?
Thank you.
I know they showed it at 5-ish, I guess, or something, because I got a text, but I was having an MRI done for my daughter who got injured at the prom.
Any other public participation? Correspondence, Michelle's not here right now, I think she might have one. Just want to give us that. Do we want to move that? Okay, we'll just move right on to the student rep report.
Hello. It's still busy at Tolland High School and throughout the district for students. At the high school, we've got DECA doing their Olympics fundraiser for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And it's still up and running. It's coming to a close, but I know that Mr. Fields has been a fan favorite, our new chorus director at the high school. Everyone still loves that guy, and he's helping raise a bunch of money for that, and it's a very good cause. Prom Safety Week through Student Council was an absolute success. We had many people pledge to have a safe and responsible prom, and as far as I've heard, there were no student accidents, which is a step in the right direction. And prom, I haven't really heard any huge complaints at all, and I heard that many people had a blast. Mental Health Week, which is through Student Council, is May 28th through 31st. There's going to be raffle baskets and bracelets, and it's all in support of the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. We're really vouching for students' mental health, and I think that's really important to do with just the statistics that are associated with mental illness and education. I think you need to sort of break the stigma, and we're trying our best to do that. The National Honor Society, our Mark Twain chapter of NHS, we're doing a snack drive for the Tolland Human Services, May 29th through June 5th. So any snacks for small children are being accepted in Tolland High School's library, so that kids who normally have school lunches during the school year can have something to eat that if they can't get something otherwise during the summer.
Kids who have free and reduced lunch?
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
So it's like a snack.
Absolutely. Tolland High School Band and Rage Robotics will be in the Memorial Day Parade this coming Sunday. Always love Tolland High School representation. Then the Tolland High School Band is also going to be at the Yard Goats game on May 29th, playing the national anthem. The day following that, the Tolland High School Band, some representatives are going down to Tolland Intermediate School for the Introduction to Instruments Assembly, trying to keep kids into music and get them interested in band classes. The THS music concert is June 6th, and that's going to be a blast. Again, you have the Tolland High School band, and you have that new chorus director, Mr. Fields, and when you put those two together, that's going to be a great concert. I do want to say, sorry to keep up with all of the positive things. I do have to say, as a representative of the student body, because I have the ability to do so publicly, I must say, the students that have kept themselves educated with the budget case scenario are very disappointed. And as you know, it's not due to you as a board, it's due to the decisions of others. However, they are very disappointed that our district is not being supported.
They should vote.
Yeah, all kids in civics who are registered to vote, please do so.
There's a lot.
Thank you.
Out of breath.
Anybody have any comments for Fisher?
When did you say the TIS?
It is May 3rd.
It's like an instrument,
It's during the school day. We're going down.
Talk to the third graders?
Yes.
I
For
know some of them
the
might do that.
yes. Yeah, and I think we're going down at around 9 or 10.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Great. People here for big things. Talk about-
All right, yes, very exciting. This is,
This is great.
so as you know, the second Tuesday, or the second meeting of the month, we are doing recognitions. So obviously tonight we have a tremendous number of young, talented people to recognize. And so we're gonna start with G1, we'll take a look at the Rockville Low-Ag Recognition Program. Annually, we acknowledge students who have graduated from the Rockville Low-Ag program. Students from town who wish to pursue careers in agriculture and attend this regional Low-Ag program. It's a very rigorous program. They learn a lot, and so graduating from it is an honor. Tonight, we're honoring Hayden Morris for successfully completing this rigorous program. I think there's some people from Rockville here.
Yeah, Bill Conker, Archie Tanner, we're members of the, what they call the consulting committee that represents students from Tolland that go off to Rockville. So 4 years ago, Hayden decided to enroll in what used to be called the Vocational Agriculture Program. It's now known as Agricultural Science and Technology because it is really diversified and offers so much more. Every student there has a different pathway, so Hayden will let you know how he used his pathway.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I enrolled in the program, and the first year is exploratory, so you go through all the different fields, so plants, animals, and mechanics, and I wound up taking more of a path down the plant road with a side in mechanics, so over the past 4 years, I've taken many botany classes, greenhouse management, engine tech, ag equipment, so which I'm taking right now, which is driving tractors, and on Friday we'll be having the district, which is the surrounding ag schools. They'll be coming to our school to drive tractors and get scores, so C will go to the states and then proceed to nationals. And then, okay. The aqua program, which is very rapidly expanding further. I'm in Aqua 2 right now. Last year was Aqua 1, and for both years I've been managing both the saltwater tank and the shark tank. So we have 2 full-size freshwater sharks that we go into the tank with, clean out the tank, socialize with them, and they're fed by hand. So
Socialize with the sharks.
yes.
It takes some guts.
Yeah.
You feed them by hand.
Yeah.
Not
It's
hands.
it's not a TV show, it's like
But
actual
by-
sharks.
They've actually been so nurtured in the environment that they're too big for their tank, so we're currently trying to find a new home for them. And we've also this year just started breeding koi, which once they're full size can sell upwards of $1,000 a piece. It'll take a few weeks to fully glue them, but we'll glue. We've also been serving a aquaponics program, which is what I've been lobbying and forward and pushing my teacher to do for the past few years. So we've started growing a whole bunch of plants, and I'm really hoping that after I graduate, that program will take off. On the other side of things, the more technology side, this year was the first year of a drone agriculture class for surveying fields, and because you can use UV imaging to find bad crops and find where your faults are in your fields. So we've been learning over the past few years, and by the end of the class, we will have the knowledge to go out and get an FAA license for the Federal Aviation Association, and I'm probably going to do that since after I graduate, I'm going to be going to college for audio and some video, but while that's not directly related to ag, I will be taking greenhouse classes on the side because it is something that I want to pursue with the world that's changing with climate change. We've been shifting more indoor farming, and I honestly think that's where the future is headed. More technology-based agriculture and condensing the smaller size.
I think that's hugely impressive.
Very good.
I feel like my whole Does anyone have any questions? Pretty amazing stuff.
Thank you for being involved in very realistic solutions to very real problems. Thank you.
Thank you
Have
very
a
much.
good work.
So our next recognition tonight is TEAMS recognition. So TEAMS stands for Tests of Engineering Aptitude, Mathematics, and Science. So we have Ms. Penn here tonight. She'll stand for a minute. Would you like to introduce Ms. Penn?
I would love to. I have Anna Cadman here, and Sophia Marziallo, and Quinn Brody, and James Conlon, and Alan Mermelstein, and they are,
Can you all stand up? Because let's get you on camera as the amazing students. These
excellent.
students completed 3 different sections of
Yes, they did, and Anna's going to tell you about the competition.
Great.
And I just wanted to tell you that they performed well enough that they qualified for the national competition, which is part of the Technology Student Association. And they were ranked, in their division, they were ranked 22nd overall nationwide. And in the 3-part competition, the design build portion, they were ranked 7th nationwide.
Hi. So we are a Teams Club. At a competition last, like 2 months ago in March, we did a series of multiple choice answer questions, which we all helped each other on and helped each other with topics that we did not understand. And the second portion of that testing was that we had to build a device that would be able to save an animal from a secluded area. So we ended up building it under about 15 minutes, and we completed the mission in about 30 seconds or 40 seconds. And about 1 month before the competition, we had to write a essay to answer the question of what we believe AI would change in the next 10 years. And we did pretty well on that. We all had our inputs on what we believe would change. And that's all.
What did you decide?
We decided that we would talk about cars that would run virtually on computer inputs. So basically self-driving cars, how medicine would evolve, like how machines would be able to test people and get more options for people with diseases. And then we use for safety, like more security for people who have problems with home security and vehicle security.
That's great.
Great work, guys.
So this is the second year that you've advised.
This is the second year that I have advised this crew. A lot of them are seniors, so we're hoping that we can spread the word to the younger grade levels, and hopefully we can build a little bit more momentum. So I want to thank you for letting us come in and making them be recognized and having opportunity for that. So I do have some certificates. Should I? Yes.
How often do you guys meet?
So we meet once a week, and a lot of that essay preparation happens ahead of time, so that needs to be passed in before your competition day. We do host on site. There are some universities that host, but there aren't any that are really near us, so we sequester everybody in one of the classrooms during the competition time. They're given they're given 80 multiple choice problems to solve in an hour and a half. They do it totally collaboratively. They help each other. I'm not even allowed to be there. Somebody else has to proctor it. And then the design build, they know the materials ahead of time, and we gather up all the materials, but they do not know what the task is that they'll be assigned, and they have 15 minutes to brainstorm and 15 minutes to assemble it, and then they test it. So they really stepped up to the
And in
challenge.
2 years to have so many of you went to the national
That's awesome.
competition is amazing.
Great work.
It was great to see them all come together and help each other.
Are there any other schools in the area that are?
So there's Glastonbury High School. I've gotten in touch with the teacher there, and then there is Watertown, and then Amherst. I kind of reached out to whoever I thought was kind of close by. Had thought about maybe trying to meet up with them and see what they do to prepare. Mostly it was just conversations through email from those teachers.
Right.
They were very supportive.
That's awesome.
Great
Thanks
job.
for
Thank you.
representing Tolland,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you. All right, so we won't make you get Sophia Marzial. She's all right. James Conlon. Anna Cadman. Anna. Thank you. Quinn Brody. Actually, this is for me. I never got that one. And Alan Normalstein. Come on. Perfect, that would be great, thank you. Are you okay? Photo op, photo op, photo op. Come on up, please. Thank you. Excellent, thank you so
Great job.
Okay, okay. You guys know where to find it.
TEAM stands for Tests of Engineering Aptitude in Mathematics and Science. Okay, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have another treat this evening. We are privileged to have Lynn Bridge with us tonight, and we're going to be honoring the students that are part of our DECA program. And I'm just going to do a couple of quick things to see if I get it right. There's so many great things to share here. It's just a lot. So I'll have you stand up in a minute and do some
We
of
needed
that.
a whole chart.
Yeah, like a business, a great business like program, they have a promotion, they have a PR.
Yes, I love it.
Which is really great. So there's a practice competition this year with 78 students competing in 10 categories, right? And it brought in 11 business people from the community and the surrounding area to judge them. And with this foundation, 68 kids went on to compete at the state competition. And 23 students qualified for the International DECA Business Competition. So it's a big deal. These kids are amazing. I saw some of this myself. I was invited and was able to observe it. And at the international competition, they had 7 international medalists, 5 international finalists, and 2 top 10 international winners. So it's just an amazing accomplishment that these young adults have done. And they qualified for attending the what is it, the other? There's an additional one too, right? So do you want to stand up and kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Well, these are all the awards that they won at the international level. Yep. So thank you for having us. I think it's wonderful that you are having this recognition night so you can honor the kids that were in teens as well as all the students that were at DECA. It's important that they do get that kind of recognition because they worked very hard to get where they are. You can see just in the amount of students that showed up here tonight, DECA is very important to them. Our club has grown so much from when it started just 7 years ago. And we began because a business student, a high school junior, came to me and said, Mrs. Bridge, why don't we have a business club? I'm like, I don't know, it's my first year here. Good question. So let's do it. So we started this business club and we looked at FBLA and we looked at DECA, and because of the schools around us were mostly in DECA, we chose DECA. And together we learned what DECA stands for as well as what DECA is all about. And I am very proud to say that in 7 very short years, we are one of the largest clubs in Connecticut DECA, as well as one of the most successful. When we went to the international competition this year, we were the 3rd largest contingent of competitors, and only by 1 student or 2 students. We were all 25, 26 students that were competing. Only 2 schools had kids up on that stage as international finalists, and it was Tolland and another school that we're not going to name. Okay.
You mean 2 schools from Connecticut?
Yes,
right?
from Connecticut, right, exactly. So we actually have, which is just incredible this year, 114 club members. 114 that come after school every Thursday. So we meet every Thursday, 114 kids. Now, you think about that, we're a pay-to-play club. So students are paying to come and join this club. And I'm going to ask some of my officers to come up and tell you why we are so successful this year. We have just grown immensely. The way we run our meetings has changed, and it's very appealing to the students and also very successful as well. So I'm gonna have 2 of my officers. I've got Elise Ernest, who is a state officer, Connecticut state officer, she's a senior, and Emily Bliss, who is our president of our high school chapter. Emily's a junior and Elise is a senior, so why don't you come up and say a few words?
Thank you for having us tonight. We're very excited to be here, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about DECA and how I joined and what this journey has in store for me. So I joined as a sophomore. My best friend Emily actually convinced me to join when she was a freshman so we could compete together. And there's just no words to describe what state competition is like. It's you walk in there and you go in to compete, and you think there's so many people in there, and you never know how. We had no expectations of making it our first year to nationals as a freshman and sophomore, because there's just so many people there. But then once you make it there and you go to nationals, the scale just increases tremendously. You walk in there from taking a test in Tolland High School into the computer lab where there's about 50 of us to taking a test with thousands of people. There's Deca Blazers. These guys can all attest to it. There's Deca Blazers, like what I'm wearing right now, everywhere. You can't find each other. I lost Emily at one point. It's crazy. And then after your testing and after your first round of competition, you go in and there's the first awards ceremony, and you sit there and you wait for hours waiting for your event to be called. And this is the first, we've had finalists before, but this is the first year we've had 4 finalists and we've had 7 overall medalists. So it was insanely incredible to witness that and to be a part of that. And then we had the 4 people move on to competition this year. So we ended up having Emily and I in the top 10, which is out of 220 teams. We're in the top 10 of the entire world. So that was an amazing experience, and it's all thanks to Mrs. Bridge and the organization she's done for us in this club. So I can't preach enough how great of a club DECA is to be a part of, and we really want to get people joining throughout the middle school. So thank you for having us tonight and being able to talk about this.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Great.
coming.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Bliss. This year I served as president of our Tolland DECA chapter. And I'm going to just kind of talk about how we structured our meetings this year to really get people engaged. We had the highest number of members that we've ever had, and I think last year we had about 80. So we close to half that plus 40. So we kind of we got a good amount this year that we increased our membership by. So we went into this year, the officers, the 6 of us, and then we had Jaden and Elise, who are state officers, so they kind of serve as mentors to our chapter officers. Our goals were to, 1, grow our chapter, grow our membership, and 2, develop our members to be professionally responsible and presenting, getting better at presenting and really owning their future in whatever career they choose to go into. DECA is a business club, but it also teaches leadership skills, it teaches life skills, it teaches how to interview, how to talk to people, and I can't preach that enough, and we really stressed it this year that DECA is for anyone. It's not just people that want it, or diehard business people. It's for the future doctors, lawyers, nurses, everyone. So our first thing that we kind of implemented was doing a commercial. That was a really good promotional way to get our word out there, put on the morning announcements. It was kind of video clips from our power trips, nationals, basically where DECA can take you. And so that attracted a lot of freshmen. They were like, ooh, we can travel with a club? So they come in and they're really excited. And it's great because a lot of our energy is from our freshmen because they're just so excited to get into high school. And I know I was that freshman, so I can relate to them. DECA really was the way that I met friends and how I became even closer with my best friend. And I now can't even imagine not doing DECA with her. But basically, so that commercial brought in a lot of people. We also had freshman orientation, which we really, preached the importance of DECA and what it can do for you. This year, our officers we wanted to increase test scores because when you go to states, testing is 1/3 of your score and your role play is 2/3 of your score. And we were not getting the highest test scores, so that was holding some people back from placing and getting to nationals. So our whole tactic this year was to improve test scores. So what we would do is we had meetings. So for example, Lisa and I, we compete in marketing management. So our career cluster is marketing. So we would have a meeting on a Monday for all people that were interested in marketing, that career cluster, and we would go over 4 Ps of marketing, SWOT analysis, very different things that they would be able to use for their tests and their role plays. So that, I think, was very successful in bringing up our test scores. Did you guys enjoy that? I think it was pretty good. We just really made sure that our meeting plans were very engaging. For example, our first meeting of the year is we give them a pen and we say, can you sell this to me in 1 minute? And so people are like, oh, the gel is beautifully, it writes so nice. And it really gets you to start thinking creatively. And how that's a big part of DECA that Elise and I have kind of figured out that the judges want creativity. So just fostering all those really great things that people can use to in any career. But that's basically it. I'm so proud of our whole chapter and how they work together, and our officers. Every week someone would have their own meeting plan that they would make a structure for, and then send it out the Sunday before the meeting on Thursday. Just the organization this year, all the officers really stepped up to the plate, and really I can't ask much more from them or a club. It's been an amazing 3 years.
Sounds like you stepped up to the plate.
The DECA, the students in DECA have represented the district on many occasions, and at the Tolland Chamber of Commerce, DECA students represented us to the community and to the chamber, so
I'm
they
grateful
represent
for
the
it.
district well, and, you know.
We're on call a lot. Can you send me a DECA kid? I'll get a send me a DECA kid. To put a few things in context, our officers, we have Elise, we have Emily, I've got Sonika. Anybody else here? Some of my officers. Oh, there they are. Nathan and Matt snuck in the back. They run the meetings. I do not run the meetings. I tell them at the beginning of the year, they have an officer meeting, and I say, you are what everyone needs and wants to aspire to. You will be dressed for the meetings, you run the meetings, you develop the agenda. So they actually, this year has been, they are an incredible group. I cannot say enough about them. They submit agendas on a Sunday night to the minute. And everyone must be involved, so every person has a part. And they run these 45-minute meetings as a well-oiled machine. What 11th grader can put on their resume that they can run a meeting for 115 people? It's really, they have created such amazing skills. And when they go to the state competition, 1,500 kids are competing. And I came away with, took 69, came back with 35 finalists. And 23 of them then qualified to go on to the international level. At internationals, you have 18,000 kids competing. Only the top 3 in each category make it from the state, only 3. So it's huge, like you can't even describe how big it is. It's just amazing. And I know that we have Mrs. Bliss who would like to say a few things. Parent of Emily.
So I think you might want to hear a parent's perspective. I think when they first started this and they do all the traveling and you probably think, oh, the excitement's just generated from them getting together and enjoying traveling together. Well, there is a lot of camaraderie that way. They get to know each other, they get to bond with each other. But that's 1/5 of it. The biggest part that I see coming from a business background is that they just like Ms. Rich said, they run the meetings. Where else can you get an experience to actually meet with someone and interview with them? Their skills that they are perfecting make them step out in front of other kids in other schools. They make them feel comfortable coming into a meeting, running a meeting, making an agenda. And it's not just one doing it, it's every one of the councils. They have to fill out a resume of what is their background to make them be capable for those positions. The team picks who the president's gonna be, who the vice president's gonna be. And they argue amongst each other who should really be doing the job. I mean, these are things you do in business all the time. Who should take that job? How about selling a job, right? You have to put a job post in and say why this job is gonna be so great, sell it to a candidate. Well, these kids go and they are given a case study that they have to learn. And I mean, the time-wise, how much time is it that they're given to do this?
15 to 30 minutes, depending
So
on
they
if you're a
get-
single or a team.
So they get a case, right? And then they have to read it, and they have to present themselves with an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And then they leave saying, and if I can help you any further, here's my business card, so you can call me back. I mean, it's amazing skills. I've never seen a team like this. And the part that I really, really like about it as a parent is like what Emily said, the fact that it's not just for business majors. Now, I'm a business major, but I think that that's the fabulous part about this. This touches every kid in that school. And Mrs. Bridge runs it so professionally. And she is there for them, boosting them up when they come out of competition. She keeps them professional. She teaches them how to dress when you go out for success. I mean, seriously, where do they learn that? These kids they're really sharp.
Well, I didn't compete with any of them in this situation. Probably would have got it.
It's great. It's great. It's a really, really great club. And I just can't say enough about Miss Bridge and how she runs it and how she lets the kids, and she'll say that all the time, kids run this club, and they really do. She really, and just is very professional. And she also works her butt off when she does those trips. To keep that many kids in line, you can imagine. And I'm gonna tell you, these kids are great kids. But they're worried about if they can keep up with her. That's what we do. So I just wanna thank you so much for having that club available to our kids. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Willett, did you want to hand out the certificates, or I can have that thing? Sure. I can announce. So let's meet some of these winners. One of the cool things that the students came up with for who are our officers each year, the outgoing seniors choose the incoming officers. And that way, because they are so passionate about the club, they want to make sure that they leave it in the right hands. So it's never a popularity contest. It is about who does the job. So everybody interviews. They have to submit their resume. They have to give a speech as to why they would be a good officer. And then the seniors choose next year's team and who's the president, who's the vice president, and who all of the officers are. So it really is a unique situation. It's totally in the hands of the students.
How many seniors do you have?
Seniors in the club this year, I think I have counted up 15, that's what I'm thinking about, 15 seniors in the club. Yeah. I'm gonna go from the bottom, and you can choose hands. So we have the students that attended the conference who are Connecticut state officers. With us tonight is Matt Coleman. So Matt will be a Connecticut state officer this year, incoming. We've got Adriana Rhodes, competed in hotel and lodging management. Dominic Buchat, competed in principles of marketing and received a certificate of excellence. The certificate of excellence means when they competed, they hit at least 70% in every performance indicator. So it typically puts you in the top 80% of competitors, so that's fantastic. Brian Kelly competed in marketing and communications with a certificate of excellence. Ryan Castellini, restaurant and food service marketing, certificate of excellence. For the team competition, we had Brianna Angelotti and Michaela Marandino in travel and tourism team decision making, also receiving a certificate of excellence. We also have the team of Dia Photos and Katie Kennedy for the buying and merchandising team decision-making. Certificate of excellence for them. Also, another team, we had 2 teams in buying and merchandising, so that means 2 out of the top 3 in Connecticut were Tolland. Katie Dutton and Grace Volarchek. Not here this evening, Hamza Hassan and Kevin Shorey entered the regional stock market game, came in second in the amount of money that they earned. So they came in second place when just as the investors, and then they got a place to compete at nationals. So they also got a certificate of excellence. So now we have Sonika Coley, Hotel and Lodging Management, role play medalist. I have the fabulous pictures of these guys on the stage getting their medals because you're in front of 20,000 people getting a medal. It's amazing. Yeah, it makes you cry. Next up, we have Will Simler and Jeff Weaver for Entrepreneurship Team, role play medalists. Nathan Pelangeli was accounting applications, and he is an international finalist. He made it to the final round. Can I please tell them my favorite moment? So, accounting. Okay, picture accounting. Nathan, very structured, very calm. He's in the final round, and I stay with them, and I talk to them right before they go in, and then I wait, and I wait, and I wait until they come out. It could be an hour by the time they come out. He comes out, and I see him, and you see him looking for me, because, 10,000 people looking for me. As soon as he sees me, he starts going, "It was amazing!" I'm like, "That's great!" That's exactly like one of my favorite moments. He starts dancing. All right, next up, we have Nicholas Young, personal financial literacy. Role play finalist. Yes, nice job. So he got a role play medal and went on to the final round. And then, last but certainly not least, Emily Bliss and Elise Ernest. Marketing management team decision making, role play medalist, international finalist, top 10 international winners. Yes! Thank you. So, yes, we had an amazing representation. The bar's high. We're going to meet it. That's what's going to happen next year. Thank you so much for your support. It was great. It was great. Oh, one thing I should say too, the Tolland Education Foundation paid for all the new blazers we needed because we had so many kids going to the international competition. They must wear the DECA blazer, so the Education Foundation did donate more blazers. So that's great.
It's possible. It's maybe possible that it's possible.
Is there someone in charge of organization?
Emily, come in.
Photos, maybe we want to yeah, we can scratch. Boys talk about next tallest.
In the back, we got a lot of room.
I can stand on a chair.
Okay.
And then you guys can squat there down. I'm fine. I wasn't kidding.
All Ready? Decca.
Decca.
Alright, I took like 10.
You make us proud.
I have to go to bed. That's not doing right. It's a bed.
This is like a party for us.
I want to say something to both of you.
It'll be good.
You know, I've been here for a long time, and I've got to see this stuff go from it didn't exist. And it's amazing to see from the outside, to watch the growth and looking at it with, like the first year's, I wonder how this is going to turn out. And it is just, it's amazing. And as I watched both groups, I wrote down some thoughts. Poise, confidence, presence, they exude that stuff. Short of going into a program like this, or maybe a class in college, or some of the programs they have in the military, the average young adult will never get exposed to how to sell themselves, how to project themselves, and those are great things. So when you go in for an interview, you will walk out of an interview and they'll say, do we need to interview anybody else? I mean, was that not the person? Is that not the person? And I think it's absolutely great that you take the time to do this, and the proof's in the pudding. Look how well everybody's doing.
Just great.
The ability to speak extemporaneously, which we just saw here, because I didn't see any notes come out.
They didn't even know.
That's critical.
Just sprung it on them.
Excellent. And they have the presence to do that. I missed the chance to say it, but I would ask you, if any of them were gonna stick around, after I graduated, they turned 18, there's some openings on the Board of Ed. We could use them, okay? But anyways, congratulations, you guys are doing a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the time.
That's what really makes it good for us up here, is to have success come, is like all the teams we have. The success comes in, we're like, okay, so something is good coming out of the Board of Ed, yeah.
It's nice to hear that every once in a while.
Thank you.
I think Beth and I are truly vested because we live in Tolland. We're residents, you know, we love what we do and we love this town and we give 110%.
We can only get our superintendent to feel that way and move to town.
Well, thank you for, I know the time that it takes, so thank you, I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
good night.
Have a good night.
I just wanted-
You will.
I wanted to thank you, but one comment, you may wanna let them know that they will never have meetings like that in any
Ever.
real life situation.
Don't tear it down.
Unless they're running
Especially when they get
unless
into
they're
their
running.
jobs and their
Yeah.
future, cause
Yeah.
meetings don't work like that normally.
You know, but when they're in those role plays, they own it. They are in charge. So we let them live that world for a minute.
Thank you both. I mean, the difference that you're making in those kids, I've known a lot of them since they were this big, and then to see them in this room with, you know, dressed up and with the boys, for me, this was by far my favorite Board of Ed meeting. You know, this was the icing on the cake for me.
They're
And I know it doesn't happen without the tremendous amount of effort for both of you. So thank you, Beth. Thank you, Mrs. Bridge, and thank you so much.
Yep, we love it. We're having fun with it.
Right.
It's good.
Before you head out, I want to just say while the camera's on, so everyone watching can, as a student, of course, you were both students at one point too, but to see high school students so passionate about things, anything, whether it be business or entrepreneurship or technology and mathematics and science, to see students passionate in high school, a time when they're finding themselves and finding what they want to do, that just shows the passion of the individual that is leading them. And I don't get a chance to speak very genuinely with a lot of my teachers and a lot of my teachers around school that I don't really have classes with, but I'd just like to say, again, while the camera is on, these are the types of teachers we have in our district. Teachers who care about students.
Guys,
off, but, I mean, super proud of the kids and you guys for the dedication. Jaden!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I got 2 more, you wanna do it again?
All right.
I was watching on Game Changer.
Were you?
Awesome.
Great game.
Oh, yeah. So sad I
Great
missed
game
it.
today. I'm really happy with how it went. Truman caught.
Good win. Yeah, he did all. He got 3 outs by
Oh,
himself.
you guys are
Catching.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, little league.
Okay, so can you say that to these guys too, what else you're doing, where you came from?
Sure. Yeah. So,
I came from
want to go first?
There you go.
We
So
we're coaching a
You're not just
AAA.
DECA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This season we decided to coach a AAA baseball team. So
A little league.
yeah, we had a game tonight.
Played
We're
real
5-5 now. I think we're 500 now. Looking good. Playoff.
4-game, 5-game win streaks.
Yeah. Playoffs are
Nice.
around the corner. Yeah, we're doing good. We're looking good.
Yeah.
Happy with what we're doing.
We both like to stay busy. We don't just sort of coach and then that's it. I've been the class president 5 years. Kevin's been a very active member in our school as well.
Also class
And
treasurer.
he's been the class treasurer the
Class
last 3 years, two or 3 years. So besides DECA, we were definitely staying busy, but DECA is definitely
Yeah.
the highlight. It's a highlight. So.
Well, we had the room was packed.
Yeah, we just saw him. We saw him. Guys, where were you? We were coaching. Sorry. So yeah, that was cleared out. Yeah.
So I can introduce, this is Kevin Shorey, so International DECA Stock Market Game and Certificate of Excellence. And Jaden Registered, who went to the international competition as the Connecticut DECA state president, so he actually helped vote in the national president, so. In one sentence, Jaden, what does DECA mean to you?
In one spot.
Okay, maybe 5.
Okay. DECA is more than just business. I consider DECA more than just life preparedness. I consider DECA as sort of a networking opportunity. You get to, I've met some of the finest people I know from DECA. Oliver, she from Texas. I know Leah from Oregon, like off the top of my head. I have met some of the coolest people, and I've gotten some of the most amazing opportunities through DECA. We've been on 5 trips together, power trip, ICDC. I've gotten to run the school store for my seminar my first semester. Kevin's doing it now. And if I didn't know Mrs. Rich through DECA and through class, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. So DECA is definitely, in one word, to describe DECA with one word, opportunity. Nice. Opportunity.
Are you guys both seniors? I know Jaden is.
Yes. Yep.
Kevin's senior also.
Syracuse?
Yep. Syracuse next year. Yeah.
Jaden, did you decide?
Yeah, I'm just going to Western this year. So.
Just.
Well, that's just. I'm not going to big Syracuse.
Well.
What is it, 17?
Big school.
Danbury.
Danbury, yep.
That's great. It's
And
great.
most of these students I don't have in class, which is interesting dynamic. These 2 I have had the privilege of having in class. Jaden, I think 3-4 times.
Yep.
Kevin, 3, twice, 3,
That was
a
really
couple
good.
times. I can remember. But a lot of the DECA students, you know, that's why we say you have to develop the knowledge. You have to pull it out of your classes. I'm marketing and personal finance, so I'm not gonna get the kids that are in accounting. We have Sonika, she's probably gonna be a brain surgeon. You know, she's in all the science classes. And so they've gotta do a lot of preparation on their own, and we don't do DECA as a class. Some schools have DECA as a class, where they prep these case studies. You know, and maybe that's something we can eventually do, that we have advanced marketing, and that is all about prepping and being ready and understanding how to do the role plays and learning all the basic business knowledge. I mean, that would be fabulous. Other schools do that. Canada does it. They have schools, DECA schools.
The amount of times I heard Ontario get called.
It started to get a little obnoxious.
Yeah, it was very.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never been to nationals for competition. I will admit that, but I've taken more of the leadership route through being the state president the year before that, being the state vice president of leadership development. And then before that, serving as a chapter officer for DECA. So like I said, opportunity. It's all about the opportunity.
Thank you guys for making
We are
it.
super proud of
Totally proud.
DECA as a whole, and you guys too. Good luck to you guys
Yeah.
in your next adventure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take a look at our portfolio.
I'm gonna take
See how
one
I'm
quick
invested.
picture with these guys, just because they're seniors,
Your own
so
photo.
I can attest that they're still.
Oh, hi.
You guys are fine guys. Oh, that's right, it's the Truman team.
Representing the Iron Fist today. So.
Yes, it's almost like, can I be edged? Can I be
Yes.
You wanna do it
Out of the way.
I'll squeeze in between you.
Michelle, you wanna get in this?
Iron Pigs and all. You guys, let me, oh, that's awesome, perfect. Awesome. We'll get this in there.
Is that your coach? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. These are the coaches, Coach Kevin.
Very good.
That coming photo bombing.
Oh,
Feel it. You got you.
I got you.
No,
you.
don't.
1, 2, 3, there we go. Awesome.
Thank you
Bye,
guys.
photo
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Best of
You have
luck.
a good
Thank
day.
Be well.
Motion to adjourn?
Thanks, Bishop.
See you.
Thank you so much. And kudos to your parents too, like the kids' parents, like being so supportive of this stuff, it's really great. So, it takes a village, right? Awesome, thank you all for having us.
so much.
Okay, we're done with our meeting.
We're gonna end on that note.
Right.
Let's do it.
Specific? I just want to make no, I'm just. Is it for class or? No, no. You can. That's Sam Adler's. Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Nice to meet you.
Reminder to the rest of the audience to, hang on now.
Easy,
Where
were we? We lost track.
We are now on G4.
Proposal for business.
We just, yeah, okay.
So, this is item G4. We do have an opportunity to restructure our business office. Right now, we are a little understaffed, and we don't match up to some of the other offices that are out there, so this would help us do that. We have this opportunity because we do have a senior member of our staff who is interested at this point in taking a role that would be a little less intense for him, and that would give us an opportunity to have some overlap for at least a few years to help us be able to pass the baton. So at this point, we do have this opportunity to do this. It's important. The office does need an accounting position, and the current bookkeeping position for the district would segue to an assistant accountant position. And this individual would come in and we'd cross-train for a couple of years to get the person up to speed, which is really, really important for our community and for our own business owners. We do have an Infinite Vision software package that's rather complicated, and we need to have kind of a historical handoff there. There's lots and lots of reports, as you can imagine. The position that's been there has been there for more than a decade, and I think even longer than that. So there's a lot of institutional knowledge that would go away tomorrow if we didn't have that. And it's not something you can convey or transfer in a very short span of time. It needs to have some overlap. So having a couple of years where we're doing this helps us build up the capacity of the position coming in. And in a couple of years, we could segue back, maybe looking at where we're at that time, to the position structure we have now, but we would have a person who's well-trained and has transitioned. So this opportunity comes because the individual is interested in a different role. And so there would be about $38,850 available to offset the impact of hiring if full accounting position. Full accounting position is 75, offset by 38,850, which is 36,150 to cover. And we would be looking to cover that from from a combination of the differentials in retirements and resignations, and in the allocation, a little bit of the allocation for our substitute. So it is not a full, the amount that's there wouldn't save a full teaching position, it wouldn't do any of those things, but what it will do is it would help us a lot in that office. And it's crucial right now that we have that assistance, and it's crucial we reorganize in this way. And it's very, very important that we have the trade, the passing the baton of this institutional knowledge to a person who we would obviously have for some time. I fear if we don't have that, then we are basically in a position where there's a lot of institutional knowledge and very few people, and those very few people, for whatever reason, decided to do other things, and we would be in a very vulnerable situation, and I don't want us to be in that situation. So I'm bringing this in front of you because this arose as an opportunity recently. The board action desired on this is consideration of the situation. I understand, where we're at as a board, and obviously, timing is fantastic, but the bottom line is, it's an opportunity that has come up. I wanted to put it in front of you so that we could explore it. And I do feel like we need this. And this opportunity was not available to us prior. It has become available to us now. So that's as an aside, you could, if you wanted to support it, you could tell me that. I don't need board approval for it in a formal sense, but I would like to have at least your support if you want that.
I personally support it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's well thought out, and I think it honors all folks that are involved and the systems that have existed. I think it'll help.
No, I support it. I think it makes a lot of sense. No, I thought we needed to move on, but it's just show support.
I support it. I see this as kind of a protection for us for the future, as we need that knowledge to go forward. Dr. Willett, is the accounting position typically you would want someone from the education field that is familiar with, or not
well,
necessarily?
it doesn't have to be. We have a school up the road that has a pre-calc program. There's other programs that we're looking at recruiting from. It's nice to have that, not absolutely imperative. I mean,
You mean the university that's right up the road?
correct. That's university. So it's it's not absolutely required. What we'd be looking to do is get the best trained and most credentialed candidate to do that.
It could be a stepping stone position too.
Could be.
Someone who's, comes up, learns the ins and outs in a few years, ready to take on a greater role.
We're well positioned for that. And then other transitions could occur where that person could step up in responsibility and then fill it again.
Yeah.
And that's the objective, is to create, you have a generation that is now passing a baton for this. We need to align ourselves to be able to have continuity, and be able to then again foster our own, grow our own from there. So this is an opportunity to do that. I was hoping that we would be able to do it, or that I could get your support.
So what I'm hearing is that this is something that came up recently, something we could have planned for in our budget, an opportunity that has arisen out of just life happening, and that the cost of this wouldn't be enough to bring back the teacher that we lost, is what I heard you say. And that you don't need our approval for this, but you're just asking us to approve it. So those are things that I just wanna make sure that I heard you say, yeah.
Correct. And I don't, I'm not using that as a positional statement, like, I don't need that. It's more that I wanna make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we wanna be transparent.
But, yeah, I mean, for all those reasons, yes.
Just to add that I think this board's been aware, that something like this would be desirable. So, and thank you for your figuring it out and making it happen.
We're just trying to find a way forward that really helps us with the least impact.
I do support it, but I feel like there are people up there will wonder why, we're doing primary accounting, which we desperately need immediately, because as far as I know, is the town has more accounting than we do, and we run a bigger budget, and we.
4 times the size, right?
More employees. So that's just my biggest concern, but saying that, I do support the accountant, I just wanna somehow make it clear. Maybe say it again, why you can't hire a teacher, but you can hire the accountant. You know what I mean? I just think that needs to be really clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to address something that's been coming for some time. You are in need, you are going to face in a short span of time, roughly, transitions within our own central office staff. It's just natural that that's going to be the case. So, when an opportunity arises and, it's shared that an individual that staff is willing to step into, a different position, that doesn't happen every day. And so I'm looking to grab that because that, again, allows us to have the continuity. If we didn't have that opportunity, we'd have to muddle about with, what we could do, but the problem is then we risk that at some point you lose crucial members and you have no institutional transfer time or anything like that, or little of it. And for this particular job, we need a lot of transfer time. We need someone that would be able to cross-train and be there for a significant amount of time
Because of the complexity of
in the historical and all of that. And literally within the South, there's hundreds of different reports and things from years, and if you have no context for it, it's extremely difficult to parse out what is and what isn't the right process, the right report. So, it wasn't available to us before. I think it's an opportunity that has arisen. I think that we should grab it. I think if we don't grab it, it will be a lost opportunity. Will we survive into tomorrow? Yes, but I think somewhere down the line, we're going to run into a real problem. And this is a way of addressing that issue.
I support this.
I would like our central office to run as efficiently as possible for district of our size.
I think Colleen brings up a good point. I think it's important to have this public conversation. Dr. Will, I understand you didn't really have to bring this to us, you could have decided, but yeah, it's an important public conversation. I think to folks who want to understand why we would hire this position and not not add back one of the necessary teachers, it really shows the complexity of the budget and how it's prioritization and reprioritization. And hopefully, maybe even shortly down the road, we would have the opportunity to hire back some of those teachers. I don't know what's going to happen with the state budget, but I think we still hold out the hope that something will happen and some of those, significant losses can be filled.
So I don't know whether you want to do a straw poll or just go with, it seems like, speak now or forever hold your peace if you are against it.
It'll be up for a secret ballot.
I suppose if you are against this, let me know. If you are not, then I would move forward and start to take action on it.
I was just gonna say, a transition with overlap with a long-term employee in a necessary position makes sense.
Anybody doesn't like it, they can run next November and they can fix it. I say, take the straw poll, be done with it.
I'll take a straw poll, all for hiring.
Too late.
We're already ahead of you.
But with you guys.
Okay, so I see the support for that, and I appreciate it.
We could have kept the DECA kids here and just, have them
Could have maybe
advise
brought
us.
one of them in.
As the accountant, yeah, the accountant guy.
Yeah, the Ethan.
Surprise! I forgot my keys.
Oh, Fisher.
We were just gonna auction it off too.
And they were just talking. That's the reason it took so long. They're still talking about how great this was. So,
Awesome.
have a nice one.
See ya.
I like the most amazing.
They all are.
They're all are. better coming to him. Okay, so moving on now to G5, renewal of superintendent's contract. I think he's a swell guy, sometimes, you know. But where we're at right now is that at this time of year, as you know, we go into an evaluation cycle, but a part of that cycle is that there's an annual review, things that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. But the motion here, or the section here, is to strictly get the 3-year agreement renewed if that is your desire. So right now, the superintendent's agreement with the board is a 3-year agreement. Generally termed as evergreen, and what happens is, you know, if you are feeling satisfied roughly with your superintendent's performance, you'll often, or board will often approve to extend that agreement each year by 1 year. And by doing that, you continue the 3-year arrangement that was originally put forward in the contract as it was originally done. So if you go forward a year, then you give a message to the superintendent that you're interested in that extension and continuing that extension. If you don't go forward a year, you know, you're letting the superintendent know that maybe you're not that interested in extending out for a long period of time. So that's the purpose of this 3-year process. It's part of the original contract that you have with your superintendent. And so each year you just re-up it 1 year. Again, that pushes it back out to the 3-year thing that you originally. So there's a motion in here that was, you know, also done in the past, and each year comes back up. Motion to approve a 3-year agreement with superintendent, specifically July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. Upon execution, this agreement shall supersede any and all prior agreements between the parties, and that just shows that it replaces the last one. Further, I added this: the board authorizes the board chairs to negotiate the contract terms with BOE approval. That's what you do every year too, but this puts it in, you know, official documentation that you're authorizing them to do that. And that is what you do each year. So it's a housekeeping thing. It's part of the annual process, and it's put in front of you for those 2 reasons.
Motion to move item G5 to item J1.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
All right, great, thank you. So the next item that we have is the educational specs. As part of the process of doing the Birch Grove Foundation work, there are a number of forms that need to be filled out and completed. One of these forms is SCG 1030. SCG 1030 requires the approval of the Board of Education as an endorsement of the educational specs. I put together these ed specs, ran them by Pete Staba, who added some of his own wizardry and excellent additions. And so where we are now is we need the board's approval. There's no, we need this or we cannot apply to the state for the reimbursement. So that's, I don't know if I need to say much else about that. There's nothing about this that I think is controversial, it just lays it out, and we need to put it in there.
Motion to move G5. 6 to G2.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
So, thank you for completing that application. Finally, tonight, well not finally, but we're moving on to the committee reports, but I think you're doing an executive session. We'll talk a little bit about that. Or actually, you gotta do that and then board action. So you're on taking action.
Let's start.
Finance and Facilities will be meeting on June 3rd to discuss the year-end, what's the word? Reconciliation, there it is.
When in, Jeff?
June 3rd.
we're negotiating the custodian contract in, on June 11th, we're meeting with town council to talk about, to discuss the teachers negotiation.
Are we all supposed to go to that, because we got a meeting?
I don't think so, I think it's just us negotiating, yeah, committee, the committee, the negotiations committee, and
Typically, it's your negotiation team, and that there's a requirement that we meet with the town council before, members of the town council, or their selection, in this case, it'll be the entire, you sit down with them. You know, if you look, there's in the 2016 minutes, a kind of overview where I just stand up, I talk about what the process is, I talk about the, you know, the negotiations process. They'll ask you any comments, or ask me questions, making comments, or kind of wrap.
So
Not-
just Karen and Michelle would go.
Typically, it's your team, negotiation team with their group, or their,
So we-
whoever they select, which in this case, board, their town council.
And the building committee has been formed, the Birch Grove Building Committee has been formed, and they selected chairperson and a vice chairperson. And we had our first official meeting last night, and the architect gave us the timeline for the project and when to expect like things happening, so we're gonna, on June 4th, we're gonna have a tour of Birch Grove. And that's about all it is. Very exciting stuff for Birch Grove.
You missed a picture.
A lot of things
There
going on.
were- Picture.
Oh, yeah, there's been lots of,
Communications met, we'll meet in June. And then Michelle and I attended a CAVE workshop on collective bargaining and labor relations, which was good for us, negotiations. So it was interesting, and I think we got some good tips and information. So yeah.
very informative.
Oh, Sam was there too. Oh yeah, Sam was there. He came for Plainville, so we were like, hey, what are you doing here? So that was good.
And then Karen, Dr. Willett, and I were town council.
Last week.
I thought they were putting in both items for public, a public hearing this
No,
week,
only
or is
the-
it just the capital?
It's just the capital needs to be covered here.
So they approved in the educational reserve fund of $393,000. And then they put the capital projects, the $460,124 for public hearing next Tuesday. Which I actually don't think they, Karen, who was liaison, that's supposed to be
Oh,
there
it is?
Tuesday. But I think the 8th grade is gonna be before, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it.
I should be there. I should be there.
But I think it moved along pretty, so hopefully all goes well on Tuesday. Did I miss anything? That meeting?
Establish the mill rate. We talked about the fire station, that's affected. We had the engineer there, talked about it. Fire station 140, what was it? The mitigation plan, which was a presentation.
Alright, that's it for committee reports and liaison reports. I don't really have any chairperson's report, but I was just gonna run down the list of upcoming things. You just clarified June 11th, not all board meetings do not have to go to that joint. That we got a notice for. And then the June 12th is the middle
Is
school.
that the one on the 11th you're referring to?
Yeah. Cause we got, the entire board got a joint meeting, so that information. So that's what was confusing me.
Well, that may indicate that they would like. I'm guessing that they're asking to join
Alright.
Canadians.
Okay, so we all should be there
Well,
June.
they had asked for, they had wanted to move this to an agenda item, but I kept it as a special meeting before, just because I don't know what to expect.
I mean, typically, your negotiating team will go talk to that, I will. I would say the minimum you want to negotiate.
Right. Anyways, we're gonna figure that out and let everybody know. But then I was gonna say June 12th is the middle school promotion ceremony and June 13th is the high school graduation. That's it. Board action. Who wants to make the motion for?
The motion to approve the 3-year agreement, is that what?
Put back up here, Michelle.
Motion to approve the 3-year agreement with the superintendent, specifically July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. Upon execution, this agreement shall supersede any and all prior agreements between the parties. Further, the board authorizes the board chair to negotiate the contract terms for the approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there any reason we'd wanna consider making it longer? Instead of just adding the 1 year?
Well, you add the 1 year, but it's still 3 years.
I know that, but we can add 5 years, make it 8 years. I'm not selling that, I'm just saying, any reason we want, instead of just adding 1 year, add 2 years?
Second, standard.
No, that's something that, since I've been on the board, we just traditionally do that. It's not a requirement to do that. You can, right now, you could say to
3
Walter.
years is typical.
I know, but you could say to Walter right now, Walter, we want you for the next 10 years, are you interested? Of course, he'd sign the paperwork right now. But I'm just throwing it out, I'm not selling it. Any interest at all? Okay, move on.
I'm not sure there'd be a benefit to either Dr. Willett or the board. I love the sentiment. But I think when a board does not add a year, even if it was 10 years with next year you have to add that 10th year again. If the board didn't add that 10th year, I think it would send the same message.
Never mind, Walter. I'm good with the 1 year addition. I just want to express my,
The sentiment's great.
sentiments,
Yeah.
that's the word.
We
Yeah,
understand
I
where
second
you're
the
coming
sentiment.
from.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. The 3-year term seems to be optimal for both parties.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions, motion carries.
Motion to approve the educational specifications document for the Birch Grove Primary School Foundation project under renovate as new status and to accept and authorize this project to be executed.
Second.
Any discussion?
It did beat me.
I can feel it over there.
If there's something left out of this document, is there any risk that later it may not get built in? Like do you have to, is this the opportunity to scope out, I mean, just in vague terms?
It's one of many documents that need to be put up, that we've been putting up, posting, creating, we could amend if there was an issue later, and we have. We noticed the TMS roof thing came back for an amendment before to you. So once in, we can amend, but we cannot get the thing submitted without.
So the bigger thing is to make sure you have the ed specs so that you can move forward.
The ed spec is a specific document. And one of many.
So we're gonna say on some new ones.
You may not need to see, you will not see all of these because you don't need to approve all of them, but, so there's a safety and security one that I already had done before that we can just apply, and there's a lot of others, but on the state site, you have, it's like doing taxes in a way, and upload this, and this, upload this, fill this in here, so this is one of the things we have to upload, and one of the requirements is that the board approves.
Any further discussion?
Can I just make a general comment about all the work that's involved in this for our superintendent?
And I want to wanna thank,
And Peter
Stava
Stava
and,
and-
you know, and others in
and
the
other
town,
staff
so,
too, but
I mean, we are all.
we're talking about a lot
We
of-
are all doing a tremendous amount of work. We'll be very, you know, happy to do it for the community. You're gonna have a really good school system. It's gonna be great, and, you know, a great thing for the community overall. But yes, it is a tremendous undertaking, for sure. And we also thank the building committee and Ms. Harold for doing that.
I do have one question. If this does have to be modified, does it come back to us for another vote?
It would come back,
Modification?
just like you did for TMS roof. I don't anticipate, but we are moving very rapidly, and a 2-year process and everything, so, you know, I think we just need to keep it on, but yes.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions, motion carries. Public participation? 2 minutes. Any questions?
Spotlight on you.
Lisa?
Are we gonna ask Mike?
I know. We're moving right
I'm
along.
a little worried.
Colleen had her do.
Oh, there you go.
Mike, you're on. I pass.
Wait, we're gonna have Michelle, do her one correspondence.
We had one correspondence come in, and it was, suggesting, we had two, but one, we can't really talk about because it was two. We had one come in, that was suggesting we reduce administration to bring back the teachers, which we discussed pretty thoroughly that that's not really a viable option. And also, suggested that maybe there was, space in our other buildings for workshop students, which also has been discussed pretty thoroughly that that's also not a viable option. Right.
I wanna just touch on that with the, did you ever see this, with the administration? There's a thing called span of control. One person can only do so much. And with all the changes in laws and everything, it's been shown, when we have one, they can't do it all. They have to do all the evaluations, there's too much for one person to do. So the concept, and it probably might come from somebody who's not been around long enough to see us go through the cycles. One person cannot do it all. One accountant cannot do it all. One superintendent cannot do it all. So we have people who continuously keep saying, no, you gotta just do what you have. It's impossible. It's just impossible, so, that's dead on arrival in my mind to say we should go down to one person. It's just not.
Try that though too,
We-
then for through to try and
Yeah.
share.
Not go well, the
And
community
nearly-
did not support that.
And nearly turned out the staff.
Yes.
The staff.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's bad news for kids and bad news for parents, bad news for the grown-ups that are doing that.
And on the other
Things
side of
to
the
work
coin is
efficiently
not getting
doesn't
that,
work. It's
not
not
getting that
efficient.
staff member also, that teacher hurts the whole program too.
Yep, yep.
It just depends where you wanna feel the most pain. But the principal is the orchestra leader of each school, and they cannot do it by themselves. Because the school will start to grind, it will not grind to a halt, but it can't be done.
There's so many things involved that people just
A
don't.
lot of moving parts.
Not to their fault, but, you know, teacher evaluations, PPTs, all of that, and running your building.
And run the building every day.
One thing we often hear are people making comparisons to business, schools as businesses. And when you think about span of control in a typical business, where it's maybe, the supervision is, depending on the business, but maybe 1 to 8 to 1 to 20, somewhere in that range. We have, if you took our administrators and divided the certified staff over the number of administrators, it'd be, I think, 14 or 15 certified staff per administrator. Add to that the other staff, the non-certified staff, that's another 12 or so non-certified staff per administrator. And then on top of that, take our student population, divide that by the number of administrators, and you see that those administrators have an awful lot of
And then add in the
responsibility.
parents.
Just with evaluation.
Yeah.
Like,
And then,
that's
well, with the
just like
administrator,
one
with the staff, they have to do evaluations, they're required to
Right.
evaluate the certified staff,
Right.
so.
Then you add in all the parents,
And
and
then
then they have a life outside of school.
Or not.
Or not, yes.
Sometimes.
So that was my correspondence.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Mike.
It wasn't a bad question, maybe someone was
Good question.
uninformed.
No, we get that a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's a reasonable question.
It's good to reiterate what we've been discussing.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, public participation, president.
Women's graduation, the spring fling for, Tech Day was Saturday.
Oh, they had such good weather.
It was a beautiful day.
So happy.
And, we weren't able to get to, my kids were extremely disappointed we didn't get to the dunk tank, but I would invite, assistant principal was in the dunk tank, which I
My
thought
kids
was pretty
dunked,
awesome.
one of my kids dunked her, so I don't know.
So she's like really, she's really fitting into that community and like, you know, she's voting and.
Really want to
The
fit in
kids
here.
Gotta be a good sport to get in the dunk
First
tank.
woman assistant principal that I've heard
Yeah.
going there.
Yes,
That was good.
that's dedication.
So we should tell us something.
Any other principal information?
Do we know how much?
I don't.
No, not yet. It's kind of early.
Raffle baskets usually.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are like
yeah.
big.
And they
numbers.
were,
We didn't
very
win it.
busy. It was such a
Yeah.
beautiful day, and I think it just, you know, last year it rained, so this year was just amazing weather, so it was really great fun.
Such a nice community event.
It is, it really is. You know, you can't really dry up the post.
It's the
Straight
part
up.
of it. It's part of the job. Alright, so now it's, we move into executive session, invited superintendent.
Future agenda
Obviously for me.
Typically, there's a list of these.
I did wanna highlight one thing, we've been talking about the mental health, part for a long time. I know that, Fisher was instrumental in getting some mental health
Yes.
resources into the high school. Is that something we wanna try to bring up at this level while he's still involved in these meetings?
Yes.
He's a-
He's a
Fisher's
junior.
junior.
Oh, he's a junior, okay.
Yeah.
They're doing.
I
Yeah,
imagine
more time
he
than I
still
thought.
wants to do this, but. Yeah, maybe.
We can loop him in, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, even if he's not, the, liaison, he might be somebody to invite him to that.
Absolutely.
I assumed he was a senior too,
Yeah.
No, we wanted to get a younger,
I know.
getting him at junior means he can spend that semester with us.
Wow. Excellent. And I did hear good things about the program, so.
It's crazy anywhere they go. I'll show you a picture later. It doesn't matter.
It was a beautiful night.
It was, yeah, so it came out just in time and, it's just amazing to me how mature they all look. Sorry, mine was like, hey, okay.
Are we ready now?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, wait,
Motion.
one more quick question. You talked about tours at one point? I know it didn't happen, but.
Well, they were gonna be towards the end of this year or next year,
Oh,
so I think first.
well,
So plan for
So maybe
Kinda
beginning
got-
of next year.
But next year, what I was gonna do is set up a program of various things for the board next year. That included a number of different things,
okay.
including to, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tours.
Yeah.
I would also at some point like to, have an update on curriculum, that's fine, like on, language arts and that.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's on the list of bringing in, curriculum supervisors,
Yeah.
presentation.
I know we highlighted the last episode.
Was that?
Would you say, are they coming to a
I
meeting?
would have them, or we do presentations, that they had helped design.
But just, maybe in the fall.
In the past, we've had them mush them into our budget process. It might be nice to peel some of that out of the budget process. That would be a good example, something we peeled out of the budget process.
It's been tough because we've had that weird budget process the last year, which really
Oh, yeah.
took a time. But I think we would be excited to do that.
Can it be
Because
part
there's
of
so
a
many great
workshop?
things that we're doing. That we do like having the kids here.
Yeah.
Doing that is another way of celebrating the hard work that's being done. So we're really excited to do that. I know.
So we've really made some good strides.
We have. We've made a lot of progress.
And I only, I'm a very, kind of.
And the principals are doing our curriculum supervisors and well as principals, special ed staff doing an amazing job. You have a lot to be proud of.
I don't know that you have time, but, the TMSE kids are doing their showcase on June third, do you get an invitation to that, I assume?
I do usually, yes. TMSE is one of the programs dear to my heart. All of them are, but that one had a special genesis.
Another nice thing we used to do is,
You know Kelgon was birthed.
Yes, I do.
Kelgon.
She's my neighbor.
A little
I
plug
can
for
say I
Kelgon.
knew, I can say
My
I knew
hands
her
are
when.
softer when I use Kelgon.
oh, I'm thinking,
Kellyanne.
oh.
K-E-L-G-A-N is
Sorry,
the
Kelgan.
two young.
It was one of our students that,
started their
now
soap
has a
company.
company.
Through TMSE,
Squirrel.
I know, they kept it
Oh,
going.
there's a tennis.
Squirrel.
Sorry,
I think Jim has a motion.
anyway.
Are we ready?
We're just on this like positive, like.
But I don't have a positive thing about it.
We just,
Alright,
Go.
alright, motion to go into executive session and invite, Dr. Willett.
Second. Oh, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You don't get a vote.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
So we are done